Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I certainly am, in part because I've recently got my hands on a stack of new vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. And that's why we're here back in the toy room, so I can share those figure pickups with you guys. Now before we get into the figures themselves, just a little bit of a preamble on the Ninja Turtles and my experience of them. You know, I first became exposed to the Turtles when I was about 5 years old. I can't quite recall whether I saw the animated series first or whether I became familiar with the action figures first. But whichever one it was, you know, it sort of was the spark that lit a fire, and from there I was obsessed with the Turtles all the way through to the mid-90s. Now, you know, during that period of the 80s and 90s, the Ninja Turtles were everywhere. You know, you had the animated series, you had the action figures that were on the pegs of every toy store and department store, you had the live action films, you had the trading cards, which seemed to be everywhere at the time. You know, you had promotional tie-ins with fast food chains, you had live shows. They really did touch every part of popular culture, and wherever the Turtles were, I was. They had me hooked. And I was recently sort of reflecting on what was it about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, such a random media property, such a random concept. What was it that resonated so hard with popular culture during the late 80s and 90s? And you know, thinking about that, it's really a melting pot of a lot of different elements that are both timeless, but also struck a chord during that period of the late 80s and early 90s. You know, you had the mutant humanoid animal element, which is always going to appeal to kids. You had the ninja element. You had the underground gritty sewer setting. You had the classic battle of good and evil. You had the family sort of brotherhood that goes with the Turtles and Splinter. And to top it all off, the fact that they were teenagers, I think, is a big part of it, because you know, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, the coolest people that I knew in real life were my older cousins who were teenagers. And it's interesting, I just think that part of it helped the Ninja Turtles to resonate with me. But anyway, that's sort of my experience of it. And a big part of my obsession with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the action figures themselves. And that brings us to the figures. So I've got quite a few figures here that I've acquired from different sources. Some from eBay, some from Facebook Marketplace, some from a collector that I'm already familiar with, that I've bought with in the past, and I've even got a couple from Etsy. So let's go through them one by one. Now, a big shout out to Jason Nupp of the New 80s Revolution, who taught me that, you know, even though we're talking about toys, something that's typically associated with kids, doesn't mean that we can't enjoy an adult beverage at the same time. So cheers. So first we start with a figure that I've been searching for quite some time. It's a really important character in the sort of history and the story of the Ninja Turtles franchise, but it's an action figure that's been eluding me for quite some time. I see a lot of the reissues, but not many of the 1988 versions of this figure about. And I'm talking about April ONeil. Now it's the blue stripe version of April. She didn't come with any accessories, but she is in quite good condition. The Turtles logo on the back of the jumpsuit there is in nice shape. But like I said, she's been eluding me for quite some time. This was an eBay pickup, and one that I'm really happy to finally have my hands on. Now the next few figures I picked up from a collector that I've known for a little while now, a guy that I met through Facebook Marketplace. His name's Isaac, and I've bought a few figures off him, and I also bought my 1990 Technodrome off him. He's super knowledgeable when it comes to this toy line, and you know, he's always got new figures and accessories for sale. How this happened was, I was actually in hospital about a month ago. I had a workplace injury. I'm all fine now, but you know, I had to have a couple of operations, and I was stuck in hospital for 2 weeks straight. And as we all do from time to time, I needed a little bit of retail therapy, and my retail therapy is a little bit different to other people's. You know, I reached out to Isaac and said, mate, I'm in need of some turtles. What do you got? And he sent me what he had. You know, he had about eight or so figures he was looking to sell, but you know, there was a few there that I really wanted, but he had them listed on eBay as a lot, so I just said, I'll make it easy, mate. I'll just take the lot off you. So some figures are new, some I already have, but you know, he made me a really good deal, as he always does. and I'm really happy to have them. So we'll go through them. Now, I'm not necessarily chasing down all the themed variation turtles, like, you know, the sports turtles and the mutant military and the storage shell turtles and all those different sort of variation figures. But I have recently completed the Wacky Action line, with the exception of the Mouser figure, which I'm still trying to get my hands on. And now I'm sort of turning my attention to that first series of, you know, themed turtles. You know, recently I got my hands on the Undercover Donnie, not the one with the cloth trench coat, but, you know, the one with the Groucho Marx mask and some other fun accessories. So now I've been trying to get my hands on the other, you know, the other turtles that came within that same series. And the first one that Isaac sold to me was Leo the Sewer Samurai. So this Leo has his belt, has his shield, as you can see. He's got his banner there. He also came with the sheath. So I just need the sword to complete this figure. And of the group of turtles that Isaac was selling, this was definitely one of the ones that I was most interested in. He's in really nice condition. He's got all of his armor pieces there. So like I said, I just need to get my hands on the sword that goes with the sheath. The next one in this same line, which was released in 1990, is Mike the Sewer Surfer. So Mike has his belt, he's got his surfboard, he's got his two other accessories, which are this crab accessory and this sort of whirly wheel accessory. So Mike the Sewer Surfer is complete. The only consideration here is that his decal has come off, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So Mike the Sewer Surfer is in the collection. So like I mentioned, I've already got Don the Undercover Turtle. I've now got Leo the Sewer Samurai. We've got Mike the Sewer Surfer. And now we have Raph the Space Cadet. Now this Raph the Space Cadet figure's in great shape. That decal on the chest area is still super bright and undamaged. We've got his sword, we've got his blaster with the piping there. Raph the Space Cadet is just missing his detachable helmet. So like I said, I just need Raph's detachable helmet. I need Leo's sword, Leo the Sewer Samurai's sword. Obviously we've got the decal issue with Mike the Sewer Surfer, but just those things are, you know, we're that close to having this line of the turtles complete. So next we've got another figure within the lot of 8 that I picked up from Isaac. And it's another figure that I didn't have, one that I'm especially happy to now have in my collection. And that is this 1990 Panda Khan figure. This figure's in decent shape. He is missing a piece of armor there, but the peg hasn't broken off. So if I can get my hands on a second Panda Khan, I should be able to resolve that. He comes with his battle axe here. He does obviously come with a couple of other accessories that I am missing. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for those accessories and try to complete Panda Khan. Now we've got something different, also from Isaac. These are figures that I wasn't necessarily chasing, but I'm still pretty happy to have them in my collection. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the themed, gimmicky turtle variations. With that said, now that I've got this, I am pretty happy with it. And we're talking about Talking Donnie. So I've got Talkin Donnie. I've also got Talkin Raph. These guys are really cool. The shells are obviously the speakers through which they talk. The sculpts are quite unique. I love the facial expressions on these Talking Turtles, and the accessories that they come with are quite cool as well. So these Talking Turtles figures come with these phrase flags. Talkin Donnie comes with his javelin accessory, and also this accessory here. I'm not quite sure what that is, but this essentially completes Talkin Donnie, with the exception of the ribbon that gets fed through the speaker here to make him speak. So apart from those ribbons, which I'm anticipating very tricky to pick up, Talkin Donnie is complete, and the same goes for Talkin Raph. So Talkin Raph has this harpoon accessory. He has his phrase flag, which has 2 phrases, rock and roll, and totally awesome. And my favorite accessory that goes with Talkin Raph is this pistol that shoots a boxing glove, a spring-loaded boxing glove. So that's pretty cool. So once again, as with Talkin Donnie, Talkin Raph is complete with the exception of the ribbon or whatever that's referred to that gets fed through the speaker to make him talk. Now we finish Isaac's lot of figures with a couple that I already have, but again, like I mentioned, Isaac had these figures as a lot on eBay in an active auction, and I, didn't want to make it difficult by having to suspend that and break them up and relist them. So I just said, hey, if you can give me the right price, I'll take them all off your hands. The first one's the 1989 General Trag figure that comes with his blaster and his rifle. Now, like I mentioned, I already have General Trag complete, but what I'll probably look to do here is, if this figure is in better condition than the General Trag I already have, maybe we'll swap them over. Otherwise, I'll just hang on to him to trade, or maybe flick on eBay, and we'll see how that goes. So we've got General Trag, and the other one that we've got is this 1990 Scumbug figure. One of my favorites from the line. The wackiness, the detailed sculpt, the really colorful paint deco, a really awesome figure, and one that's really reflective of 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Scumbug has his bug pack there, but none of his other accessories. So again, I'll compare this guy to my existing Scumbug, which is complete. If he displays a little bit better, we'll swap them over. Otherwise, we'll hang on to him for a trade, or perhaps stick on eBay. Now, one last item that I picked up from Isaac before we move on to the next lot. Whenever I buy anything from Isaac, he'll always ask me, hey, what accessories are you chasing down? Because he has a pretty awesome stockpile of accessories, and if there's something I'm chasing that he has, he'll always hook me up. And what we have here is two accessories that go with the 1988 April ONeil figure that I picked up on eBay. So we've got her computer case and we've got her camcorder. So I'm still chasing down a few accessories to complete April. We need her microphone, we need her pistol and her ninja star, but we're off to a start. So I'm super happy with those. All right, so really quickly, a couple of weeks back, I jumped on Etsy. Etsy is an online resource that's really good for vintage and custom items. I was actually looking for something different at the time. I collect vintage barware, and I was looking for some vintage cocktail recipe books on Etsy, but oddly enough, I stumbled across some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. And these are figures that I already have, but they were $5 a piece. And if I see loose, figures with no accessories in good condition for $5, I gotta get them. I can't not get them. So we have Usagi Yojimbo here in really nice shape. $5. One that we've already seen, Leo the Sewer Samurai, $5. And the best one of the bunch, we have Mike the Sewer Surfer, $5, and the decals intact. So this is going to help us take the accessories from the Mike the Sewer Surfer figure that we got from Isaac, pair him with this figure, and we're gonna have this one complete. To top it off, the seller on Etsy hooked me up with a free gift. I open up these turtles, I don't expect to see any more, but she's thrown in the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cassette featuring songs from the live action film and other gems from the late 80s and early 90s like Dick Tracy and Batman and Ghostbusters. So I don't even have a tape deck, in my home or in my car, but still, that's awesome. Once we get some more display cabinets, we're definitely going to get this on display. So to finish it off, my last lot of figures that I picked up was through a guy named John that I met on Facebook Marketplace. And I was on one of the Facebook groups that I follow that relate to collecting vintage toys, vintage action figure lines. And there was a guy on there that was advertising a complete 1990 Dick Tracy, the Tramp figure. I'll show you guys what it looks like quickly. I know this is a Turtles video, but here we've got Steve the Tramp from the Dick Tracy 1990 line, which is also made by Playmates, the same manufacturer of the Turtles. And he comes with all his accessories. He's got his knife, he's got his trash can lid shield, he's got his spiked plank of wood. So Steve the Tramp is all ready to go to battle with the rest of the underworld and Dick Tracy himself. So anyway, like I said, guy named John on Facebook Marketplace, he's selling this Dick Tracy figure. So I messaged John and say, hey, you know, do you have any others? And he said, no, that's the only one I've got. I found it in a pile of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures. So I said, well, cool. What Turtles figures you got that you're selling? And he said, oh, mate, I'm not selling them. I want to hang on to them. So I say, that's cool. I rock up to pick up the Steve the Tramp figure. And he says, look, I do have some that I'm keen to sell. And he showed me a box of what he had. And yeah, he had some really cool stuff. The first figure that John had was one of my favorite characters, and that's Mutagen Man. Now, I already have Mutagen Man, but I could not say no to this one for a few reasons. My Mutagen Man and others that I see at toy fairs and vintage shows is quite cloudy in that clear plastic section there. This one is super clear. So that was the first thing. Second, he's complete. He's got all the components of his life support system. He also has his gun, his file card, and the coolest thing of all, the thing that I've been really struggling to get my hands on, he had the gooey garbage pieces that are sometimes found within the figure itself, but more often than not get lost. I mean, these are so small. For scale, this is the size of these gooey garbage pieces against Mutagen Man's gun here. So they're super tiny. They were inside the figure. As soon as I picked the figure up and heard the noise of these things moving around inside the figure, I knew they were there. So I was really happy to get that. Once I got home, I took all the pieces out, and you can see most of them are there, but it's just missing that little bone. But in any case, John made me a good deal on Mutagen Man, and I couldn't say no. So this guy will proudly take the place of my Mutagen Man that I've already got on display behind me. Finally, we finish with 3 last figures that I picked up from John while I was there scooping up that Dick Tracy figure. They are 3 Turtles figures that I don't already have. They are all incomplete and in various conditions. With that said, you know, when I do see Turtles figures that I don't already have, and they are characters that I'm chasing, you know, regardless of the condition or the level of completeness, if the price is right, more often than not, I'm going to pick them up. You know, I'm going to be happy to have them in my collection, even if it's a placeholder, until I can get a better, more complete version of that figure. The first one is the 1990 Slash, a figure that I've been trying to get my hands on for some time. Unfortunately, Slash is not in the best of shapes, and he's totally incomplete. He's missing all of his accessories, his belt. He's even missing one of his wrist armor pieces over on this side. With that said, just like the Panda Khan figure, the peg hasn't broken off inside that hole, so this guy is salvageable. You know, if I get another Slash with that piece and maybe some other accessories, I'll be able to combine them and hopefully work my way to a more complete Slash figure. Next, we've got 2 1991 releases, both from the Ninja Turtles Movie Stars line, produced to coincide with the Secret of the Ooze film, which is a personal favorite of mine. First, we've got this Razar figure. Now, once again, he's very much incomplete. He's got none of his weapons. He's lost both of his leg armor pieces here, and unfortunately, the pegs have broken off in the holes there, so that's going to be trickier to replace. But with that said, you know, aside from the lack of completeness, what we have is in really nice shape. The paint's still nice and bright, very little paint loss, very little rubbing. So yeah, this is a good example of a figure that I'm happy to have as a placeholder in my collection until I can get a better version of the figure. Last but not least, also released in 1991, the Super Shredder figure. Now, once again, Super Shredder, he has his belt, he has one of his ninja stars here, but that's where the accessories stop. We have no leg armor pieces. Again, both of those the pegs are broken off in those holes. So that's going to be tricky. But again, this guy will be a placeholder figure in my collection until I can get a better version of Super Shredder, or until I can find a way to try and fix and complete those leg armors there. And that's it, guys. Just wanted to share with you my most recent vintage Ninja Turtles action figure pickups. I also just want to take the opportunity once again to give a big shout out to Isaac and to John. Now, a big aspect of the hobby of collecting vintage action figures is the people. You know, it's connecting with other collectors. And with what's going on at the moment, suspending all toy shows and collector fairs, there's a bit of a void there. So, you know, using Facebook Marketplace to connect with John and, you know, chatting with Isaac, a guy who I've never even met before, you know, it's a real pleasure. And it's those guys that make the hobby what it is. So big thanks to those guys. Look forward to, you know, meeting and catching up with other people once toy shows and collector fairs are back on. But for now, this community exists exclusively in the digital space. But the community is still very much there. So big shout out to those guys. Thanks very much for watching. Hope everybody's doing well. And I'll see you soon. Cheers.